A shakeup in the Speaker of the House contest. I'll have President Trump's reaction to being nominated, hear Ukraine leaders' reaction to Putin's call for a Christmas truce, plus how more peer-reviewed studies are challenging the fact-checkers' premature conclusions on the jab, and a father's desperate fight to protect his son from his gender ideology-obsessed ex-wife. I'm Kristi Leigh, and here's today's Daily Brief. Starting today with the Speaker of the House race saga, Kevin McCarthy has not been able to secure the votes needed for the title, and the latest name to be tossed around for the role is gaining support. President Trump posted this photo to his Truth social account in response. Trump has endorsed McCarthy, but National File reports a growing number of conservatives are publicly saying that Trump himself is the only man for the job. Constitutionally, the Speaker of the House is not required to be a member of Congress. The lack of any clear leader being chosen is causing restlessness in the GOP and showing the true colors of not only some House members, but of many in the media. Fox host Judge Jeanine threw a fit about those opposing McCarthy as Speaker and had this to say.
What do they want? They have no other alternative. They're egomaniacs who've got no answers. And they ought to just be quiet and just go along with the majority at this point. If you don't want to vote for a bill, don't vote for it. And that's the end of it.
The Fox and Friends hosts echoed her sentiment and had even more choice words for the opposition.
Right, but here's the thing. If you pick Jim, just how insincere the insurrectionists are, I probably shouldn't use that word, the people that don't want to vote for Kevin McCarthy.
They would disagree with that.
Right, saboteurs.
After Fox host Brian Kilmeade calls the minority who oppose McCarthy insurrectionists, Pedro Gonzalez points out the hypocrisy of the stance, saying, a brief list of Brian Kilmeade's books. They're all about a few standing against many, the American Revolution, desperate fights against the odds. That he's now attacking the few Republicans taking a stand on principle shows he's a fraud. Rep. Dan Crenshaw went all in, calling House Republicans who don't support McCarthy for Speaker terrorists. President Vladimir Putin is calling for a truce on the eve of Orthodox Christmas, according to RT. The ceasefire order was issued after an appeal by the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church. The Russian truce has been rejected by Kyiv, with officials calling it hypocritical, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky describing the offer as a military ruse. Ukraine's Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council says Ukraine will not negotiate with Russia on a Christmas truce. In a tweet translated by Google, he says, "What does a bunch of little Kremlin devils have to do with the Christian holiday of Christmas? Who will believe an abomination that kills children, fires at maternity homes, tortures prisoners? A ceasefire. Lies and hypocrisy. We will bite you in the singing silence of the Ukrainian night." Underqualified propagandists, otherwise known as fact-checkers, continue to be challenged by actual medical professionals and new peer-reviewed studies. The American Heart Association Journal published research suggesting the spike protein used in mRNA vaccines can cause harm in some people. The peer-reviewed study in Circulation reviewed 16 adolescents and young adults hospitalized at Massachusetts General Hospital or Boston Children's with post-vaccination myocarditis from January 2021 to February 2022. All had markedly elevated levels of full-length spike protein in their blood, unbounded by antibodies, according to Just the News. The findings call into doubt the default response of tech platforms and media organizations when dissenting scientists question the safety of the spike protein. The Circulation study has been shared by COVID vaccine skeptics, including British cardiologist Aseem Malhotra, who now calls the shots one of the worst pharmaceutical interventions in the history of medicine. The researchers who wrote the study say whether the circulating spike protein in the setting of mRNA vaccination caused the disease is unclear, but its association with myocarditis is notable in 12 to 21-year-olds. Epidemiologist Vinay Prasad says the CDC and FDA did not take vaccine-induced myocarditis seriously, in part because safety signal was hid by not focusing on young men. A tragic case of a father fighting for the safety of his son highlights just how much more power the government can have over parental rights. Jeff Younger of Texas is desperately attempting to block his ex-wife from chemically castrating their 9-year-old son, according to Daily Mail. Younger and his ex-wife had twin boys, James and Jude, through IVF. He says shortly after their divorce, his ex-wife took James' interest in stereotypical girl toys as a sign and brought him to a gender specialist. Younger says she started transitioning James when he was 2, and records show she intended to chemically castrate him at age 8 or 9, his current age. The father says James never asked to wear dresses when in his care.
You're a boy, right?
No, I'm a girl.
Who told you you were a girl?
Mommy.
When did she tell you you were a girl?
Because I love girls.
She puts dresses on you? Oh, wow.
So the Capel School District began to secretly transition my son. I'd bring my son to school in boys' clothes, and they'd give him a dress and make him use the girls' restroom. And it even escalated further where she began to present him to the world as a girl. I lived under temporary orders from a court where I wasn't even allowed to tell my son that he was a boy, where I had to present him to the world as a girl. And, you know, his twin brother got completely confused by all this. We wound up going to a 2019 trial where the courts gave me 50-50 custody and joint conservator rights to check her ability to transition my son. And the corrupt Democrat establishment in Dallas County transferred my case into the 301st District Court with Judge Mary Brown, and she never implemented the trial with a jury verdict, and as through temporary orders stripped me of all my parental rights and eventually allowed my ex to move to California right before, just a few days before, the sanctuary law in California went into effect.
Younger took his case all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court in an attempt to block his wife, but in an 8-1 decision, they rejected his petition. So here's today's takeaways. Establishment Republicans are vilifying anyone who doesn't hop on board with the majority rules and select rather than elect the best candidate for Speaker of the House. Ukraine is rejecting efforts in Russia to call for a ceasefire. More studies and doctors are exposing potential dangers of the rushed through jab. And where are we at in society when even the free state of Texas rejects protecting a 9-year-old boy from his natural growth process and keeps a father from his own children? To learn more, be sure to go to AmericanFaith.com and subscribe to our daily newsletter. For American Faith, I'm Kristi Leigh.